So for a very long time I've contemplated, if Guts just stayed with the Band of the Hawk, if he just had a simple talk with Griffith, could almost all the tragedy that occurred had just been avoided? Did he just make the wrong choice? Now before anything else, before you tear me up in the comments instantaneously, let me just say this. Griffith is at fault. He definitely did things wrong, and he 100% is the villain. While you can easily argue that Griffith's choice is heavily skewed because of the situation he was put in, tortured for multiple years, and then a godlike party approaches him, saying we'll give you back everything and more, wealth, strength, and title, if you just sacrifice your friends. The real problem was that outside of Casca and Guts, Griffith never viewed these people as friends, so the choice was actually quite easy. While in a moment that I feel goes vastly overlooked by the Berserk fandom in general, in chapter 130, Guts goes to talk about how he almost feels as though he doesn't have the right to feel sorrow about the situation anymore, that this all started because of him, and that it's because he abandoned the Hawks when they needed him the most. And what he's saying is definitely, sadly, kinda true. I would also argue that either through fate or causality in this case, that Guts was never actually given a choice. Now, Guts leaves the Band of the Hawk for two main reasons, but the cataclysmic events was the mistaken killing of Adonis and overhearing the speech to the princess by the fountain from Griffith. When Griffith is talking to the princess, he's stating how none of the Band of the Hawk is truly his friend because they don't have dreams of their own. They're simply, in a way, subordinates. But I don't think this applies to Guts as much as it applies to the other members of the Band of the Hawk. And that's kind of shown when Guts fights to leave. And Griffith is distraught in a way that the only friend he's ever had is now leaving his side. And yes, Guts overhearing the words of Griffith about how a man needs his own dreams and aspirations that essentially rival his own to be considered his friend is what made him walk away from the Hawks. But I would argue this is where Guts really never had a choice, because he was never ever in control of his life prior to that point. If those words then and there didn't inspire him to leave, something shortly after would have done the same, because Guts never had a childhood. He never really had teenage years. He was always fighting by his sword to live. He had to survive an atrocious living situation with Gambino. Essentially, his early life was cursed. He was never given a single day to establish a dream that was greater than just surviving. So it's pretty hard to watch him blame himself in chapter 130. It's truly kinda sad, because when was he supposed to leave if not then? He's helped the Hawks establish their dream. He's helped Griffith reach the top. When was he supposed to find time to become his own man? Humans can't predict the future. There's no way he could have predicted what was to come. He could not have foreseen the tragedies that were going to occur. But he didn't abandon them in the middle of a battlefield, in the middle of the war. He left during a calm, after he helped everyone achieve the highest point in their entire lives. And this is where him and Griffith differ. Griffith got to see that these people would become skull and bones stepping stones on his path to reaching his new heights. If Guts knew what was going to happen to them, he absolutely never would have left, no matter how much he wanted to figure out who he is inside. I don't even think him standing next to Griffith as an equal really mattered to him in the end. I feel like his dream solely turned into being around people who cared about him, and him protecting people that he loved, like Casca and Judo. But I guess in the end, the point of the story is ruled by causality. It says in the beginning of every episode of the anime, that man is controlled by some transcendental entity or law, essentially destiny. The destiny that forced Guts to have a cursed life for so long, that when the time came, he was going to make the decision to leave the Hawks regardless, at least at some point, because he never got the chance to be that free bird himself. And those decisions were going to be made to help Griffith further into despair, to only lead him into making incredibly dark decisions into accepting the God Hand. It's all either control, causality, or if there was a choice, it's almost an impossible one. Alright, if you made it this far into the video, you are the greatest. Definitely consider throwing down a sub, because like I always say, it will mean a lot. Really trying to grow the channel. Almost at 500 subs, so that would be awesome if you want to join up. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next one. Hope you enjoyed the show. Peace.